That's the next one. I told that can suck my dick to suck my.
What?
All right, so I reported to y'all that Taxstone was the person who got Joe Budden touched at the club the other night. He did not get jumped. He actually had a 1v1, okay? And Joe survived thanks to his lucky Crocs, okay? But Joe went on his podcast and he actually spoke on the situation and what exactly happened and what he learned after the altercation.
But say this, because that is the takeaway, right?
Yes, yes.
Thank God that the lesson came in a good old-fashioned 1v1. Mm-hmm. I'm never mad at that, and I always like my odds in that. But the takeaway is you too successful, you too blessed, you are too handsome, you smell too good.
No. That's too weird.
It's another takeaway in there, though.
What's the ice?
You put a lot of that energy out.
Oh no!
And it came back to you.
That's the next one.
That's the real takeaway.
That's the next one. I told a nigga that can suck my dick to suck my.
So the lesson wasn't learned.
Yeah.
No.
Me up.
Like what, how
not even that.
You kind of frozen. How long you thought of that? I told a nigga that that's disrespect. Why you saying that? Why did you say that? We all shocked.
Yeah, that one fucked me up. This nigga's crazy.
That too is the takeaway. Those are the takeaways. You too blessed to move around this way, and now you got to go and do the annoying shit and interview all of the niggas and have somebody will be present to handle that differently in those events. You just got to add people to the late night detail.
Isn't it
same way you hit the driver, so the driver know what's good. Now you got to hit a few other people, add them to the late night detail when you want to run around and have some fun.
But also, if you're doing what you're doing, if you're speaking how you're speaking, that's something that I say. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like even prior to this, when the shit happened at the hookah spot,
yeah,
the response to that really was inviting more energy. When you came in here, I'm gonna be there every day, and I want y'all to come. Like all of that is just. I know I'm taking a mature route, but that's really how I looked at it. I was just like, dog, wait, you too up for this. Like, leave that bullshit alone, fam.
Yo,
I hear you.
No, I know. Listen, I get it. I know you're gonna move the way you move.
I said I
get it.
Hey, yo, niggas is calling my phone.
I've heard the same type of lecture and speech about 900 million different ways from a bunch of different people.
They right though.
I got
we
it.
care. That's all. We really give a fuck. Not
message,
like the bullshit.
Message received from
Hey,
people
me and Joe was on the phone.
From the people that love and care about me and don't want anything to happen to me. So don't worry, it's cool. I'm never gonna stop telling niggas to suck. You're asking a lot. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Now you just gotta do it different.
Baby steps. Baby steps.
He said he doesn't want to be in a world where you can't say what you want to say on the podcast. He doesn't want a podcast if you can't say what you want to say.
Now, after the altercation, Joe's hand did get messed up, and he actually used it for the podcast art this week. And during the podcast, he actually got an x-ray done for his hand, okay? So he didn't leave the fight unscathed. He said he did win, but he still messed up his hand. Now, you saw a lot of Joe's co-hosts saying, hey, bro, you too old for this. You too up. You too rich. You got a good thing going. You don't need to bring all this negative energy upon you. Also, y'all heard Joe say he's going to also be running around with security from now on because he said he was at that club alone. Now, you know, I kind of do agree with Ice-ish and Flip, but I will say if Joe stops saying how he feels, if he stops speaking his mind, you know, people will notice that. And I feel like it will affect the content. Now, you can say, all right, maybe Joe shouldn't invite all this negative energy. He didn't learn nothing. He told Tax to SMD again. He doubled down on it. But if Joe Budden stops being Joe Budden, it's not a Joe Budden podcast. And I know a part of Joe Budden is being toxic, is going at people. And yes, that can bring negative energy. But I do feel like Joe is in a position where he can avoid certain situations by just being smart. I still want to see the same Joe show up to the podcast and speak what's on his mind. I just want to see him make sure when he goes out, he's safe. Because it's funny that this happened, or this situation was because of Taxstone, because that's the mistake Taxstone made. Taxstone would be on his podcast and he would be talking a lot of crazy stuff, but then he goes out and he don't have no security. He's getting into an altercation with Troy Ave and his security guard, and he's the one who actually, pulled the trigger. But Taxstone should have had his people with him. He shouldn't have to grab no, weapon. And somebody should have did that for him. It should be somebody else in jail for Taxstone, if you ask me. But he was trying to play gangster on the podcast and gangster in real life, and you can't do both. You can be gangster on the podcast, but just make sure in real life you remember that you're living a good life. You're not still in the streets. It's all for entertainment, and it's okay to be protected when you outside. And I think that's the sweet spot Joe has to learn. Yes, Joe has been up for a long time, but he still feels like he's that same kid from New Jersey who can just walk around after he filmed a scene from Love and Hip Hop. Okay, this is not those days, bro. You up. I heard Joe got a new chain. Y'all ain't seen it yet, but he really moving a little different now because he getting that money. So that means you have to protect yourself. And even somebody like me, I don't have nearly as much as Joe Budden. But the minute, you get a couple of things, you start driving something different, you get a couple of pieces of jewelry, you got to move a certain way. So I need Joe to do that, man. But don't stop being Joe on the podcast, all right? Let me know what y'all think about this. Make sure you like the video and subscribe. I will see y'all next time. Peace.